into Julio Gallegos' hometown here and trying to pick up a win and maybe playing spoiler here.
Okay.
We
Is that
saw
what
it
you're doing?
in one bout.
Devil's advocate sounds like you're going with Parker.
I think it's going to be a good fight. I think two very veteran guys, and it's tough to go against Julio Gallegos.
Such a very professional-centric card here from Hardrock MMA. Once again, Hardrock MMA 93 at Heritage Hall in Lexington. Been a great showing of fights tonight. We will be back here at Heritage Hall in Lexington March 3rd. We'll get to see Jamal Muhammad against Adam Fritz in the main event. But tonight for Hardrock MMA 93, I mean, you couldn't ask for much more. Better finishes, a better performance across the board from this card.
And I talked to the matchmaker Brandon Higdon earlier on the night, and he said that this is one of the best cards, maybe the best card that he's ever put together. And he was excited, when the matchmaker gets excited about the fights and you see him light up and things like that, he says these are really, really talented, as far as some of the most talented fighters that have ever been put on a Hardrock MMA card. And I think that I have to agree, especially with this main event. You see Tony Parker coming down from Vision MMA. I mean, that's one of the best gyms, not only in the state of Ohio, but one of the best gyms in the world. They're consistently putting guys in Bellator, the UFC, things like that. Tony Parker is a guy who's been around for a long time as a pro, made his pro debut way back in 2010, has 29 fights in that time. So, and a guy who also does not like to go to decision. So,
the simple formula that I take away from tonight, David for Hardrock, Brandon Hardrock Higdon, and obviously Vanessa, is spare no expense. Get some great pro fights on the card, and everything else will fall into place.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the idea behind this card is let's put some great fights. Let's put Julio Gallegos on the card and some of these up-and-coming really, really talented fighters. And then also, put some talented amateurs on the card as well. You see a lot of veteran amateur fighters. That's kind of an oxymoron there, but definitely you see a lot of talented guys who one day you will see a lot of those guys in the pro ranks. Tony Parker in the cage, going to bring out his opponent.
There's that local support for Julio Gallegos.
And Gallegos is a guy, if you give him a quick Google, has a really, really fascinating backstory. But one of the things I think that's most interesting about him is just basically how he's kind of dedicated his life to kind of helping other people, and recently opened up his own gym and foundation. Also still training with the Killer Bees at Georgetown MMA.
There's our mandatory second shout out, or third shout out for Adam Gomez.
But Gallegos is a guy who's fought on some of the biggest stages, and one of the things I actually, earlier this year turned on a fight card. I didn't even know he was fighting on the card, but KSW over in Poland fought in a huge coliseum. This guy fought in front of 57,000 people on the same card that Mariusz Pudzianowski fought on. So definitely a crazy, a guy who's been in front of a lot of people and fought, in Russia, fought all over the place. But I think it's probably second to none being able to fight here in your hometown, in front of your hometown crowd, here at Hardrock MMA 93. And not necessarily comparing it, but I think maybe in his mind, being able to fight at home probably is just as special, if not more special, than fighting on those big events. You've seen him on Access TV, XFC back in the day. And a guy who really has developed sort of a big kind of following as a guy who has, really talented fighter, really heavy hands and strikes. But we actually saw him submit Joshua Thorpe back at Hardrock MMA 91, and a lot of his wins are via submission after knocking a guy down and then submitting him. So definitely a really well-rounded guy is Julio Gallegos.
I walked away from that first ever event at the Northern Kentucky Convention Center on July 29th of this year thinking, my God, that guy's not from Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky. Where the hell did he get all this fan support?
And you've seen, the official record for him is 9-5, but he has fights again that don't show up, and he has fights against UFC veterans like Rodney Wallace, fought Charles Duff, who we saw earlier on. Also has wins over Shane Prim, UFC veteran Hader Hassan. A lot of big time fights on the resume of Julio Gallegos.
Second matchup we've seen of Lexington versus Cincinnati. David, you're a Cincinnatian. Feel any emotional ties?
Know where I stand on that.
I'm a Kentuckian. No surprise, I chose Gallegos. You went on record as saying you choose Parker. Actually, to be accurate, I think you went on record as saying you think this would be a hell of a main event.
I definitely do think it will be. I tried to play politics a little bit. I usually don't like making picks, but I think that both guys, either one of these guys would represent Hard Rock MMA extremely well as the light heavyweight champion.
First ever light heavyweight title matchup in the history of Hard Rock, 93rd show.
Tony Parker in the black with the red glove tape. Julio Gallegos in the black with the blue glove tape. And you see immediately those big shots there from Julio Gallegos. That's where he tries to start the game. You see a big left there, straight left from Tony Parker. Parker looking to try to duck and get the fight to the ground. Interesting note, both of these guys have fought down at 185 before as well, but decided to fight here up at 205 for the first light heavyweight title for Hard Rock MMA.
Gallegos bringing the fight to Parker.
Big leg kick there from Gallegos, inside leg kick. Guy just who has ridiculous power in both hands and also in his legs. Oh, and Gallegos overextended there.
Back to Parker. Is he going to go for the standing rear naked choke?
He is trying to strangle him here. No hooks in, and Parker trying to finish this.
Every once in a while, that will work, David. That doesn't.
Gallegos trying to survive here.
Not your standard rear naked choke attempt. Exactly.
He just Gallegos just overextended on that. Parker grabbed a hold of him and took his back there. And now Parker's a guy, once he has you on the ground, it's hard to get up. He is a very heavy, experienced veteran wrestler, and you see a cut, I believe, on the forehead, maybe the nose of Julio Gallegos. And Parker now has the back, now trying to put the hooks in of Julio Gallegos. Has that wrist ride position there, both hooks in.
Going for a conventional rear naked choke.
And Gallegos is gonna have to start fighting hands here. One of the benefits of mixed martial arts and having those gloves, hand fighting is very easy in mixed martial arts as opposed to traditional jiu-jitsu.
Now we'll get to see Gallegos have the opportunity to use your standard procedure for getting out of a rear naked choke, was trying to get your shoulders to the mat.
Shoulders to the mat and work, continue to fight hands and peel one leg off of you at a time. Parker, I believe, just has one hook in at this point. Hard to tell from our vantage point. And Gallegos trying to turn into Parker here. Parker still has his back.
The crowd comes alive as Gallegos almost muscles his way out of the position. Very impressive defense from Julio Gallegos.
Very good job. And just stayed calm there. I mean, fought his way out, and that is under the left eye there of Gallegos. Probably not going to stop the fight, but that's a big cut. Parker now in guard.
2 minutes left in the first of 3 5-minute rounds in this first ever Hard Rock MMA professional title fight for the light heavyweight division.
Parker now working off of his back. A couple of shots there from the bottom of Tony Parker. He's definitely staying active. Gallegos now stands up out of the guard of Tony Parker. Eats an up kick there.
Tony Parker proving he's no stranger to the ground game.
Gallegos now in the half guard. Both of these guys have really, really strong wrestling backgrounds. Gallegos may be looking like he may be looking to try to get an arm triangle here.
Parker with the half guard. And even beyond that, almost an aggressive half guard. He's engaging Julio Gallegos' head, minimizing the distance, preventing Gallegos from executing those blows he wants to. Although it looks like he is trying for the elbows.
Now, I was going to say Gallegos looking for the elbows.
Which can be devastating. That's why they say half guard a lot of times in MMA isn't the greatest strategy.
Yeah, people, and on top, I mean, people love half guard in MMA. A lot of guys love it even more because big shots there from Gallegos.
Oh, my goodness.
As Parker tries to recover.
What a card, what a light heavyweight bout.
I told you this
main
was,
event.
you know, of course it's the main event, but a sneaky good fight between two really veteran, crafty guys. And Gallegos looked like he was maybe trying to
heel hook?
Yeah, heel hook there. Show you he has everything in his arsenal.
Both of these guys, very impressive in all facets.
And we're still in the first round.
Hell of a first round for this main event. Hardrock MMA 93, first ever light heavyweight title fight between Tony Parker and Julio Gallegos.
And that's a tough one to score. I mean, you know, you look at the damage on the left eye of Gallegos and also the really deep submission attempt, but how much credit do you give Parker for the submission attempt, or how much credit do you give Gallegos for being able to get out of survive the submission attempt?
What's most important is what will these judges, how will they credit? Parker had a very early, actually a couple attempts at a rear naked choke, but do you give him credit for that from the judges?
Yeah, you know, I think you do. I think you say that, you know, you're staying aggressive for the guy to get out of it. Really, it's a defensive position. Of course, you give him props to get out of the submission, but I think most judges will give the guy who is trying to be the aggressor and trying to finish the fight.
On the contrary, I have judged in the state of Kentucky, and my formula was simple: who did the most damage? And from that perspective, you could make an argument.
You know, but you also say
Gallegos made more damage.
That's true. I mean,
but you look at his eye also.
Exactly.
So what a first round. What a first round.
You know, I don't like the 10-10 round, but that's a very close to a 10-10 round.
I'm with you on that. It could go either way. A little bit of a feeling out process. The beginning of the second 5-minute round.
It's a very similar start to how the first round finished, or started, excuse me. You see Gallegos, both of these guys with their hands pretty low. Big overhand right. You heard the thud. And Parker's a guy who doesn't really put a ton into his shots. I mean, he uses a lot of his shots to try to open up his grappling, a little bit more of his ground game, but landing some shots here against Julio Gallegos, and of course, again, that mouse under the left eye proves the point that he's been landing some shots here in this fight.
Parker not shying away from the striking.
Pumping that jab out there. Corner loves that jab. There's a big left hand.
Difficult
backing
fight
up by
to call.
Parker.
Difficult fight to call, because the second I start to think Parker wants this on the ground at all costs, he's throwing with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is he doesn't want to be on his back on the ground. He doesn't want to make a mistake and end up on his back.
A la the half guard he was in.
And the other big thing too is that every time Gallegos throws that leg kick, it's landing and Parker's not checking it yet, and those are buckling Parker every time he throws them. They're really affecting Tony Parker every time. He does not like those. I don't know anybody who does like getting kicked in the leg, but
I don't know if you've ever been kicked in the leg by someone who knows what they're doing. No, it's not enjoyable.
And there's some bobbing and weaving there from Gallegos.
Parker smiling.
Definitely a different round here in round number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Hardrock MMA 93 main event, Tony Parker and Julio Gallegos. Light heavyweight title on the line.
You think this is a result of a very taxing first round?
Yeah, and these are two big guys as well. And the other interesting thing, too, is it's very much a chess match when you're striking in general, but also when you have a southpaw against an orthodox guy. You don't want to make that mistake and have a shot land right down the pipe. Parker now looking for the single, and
Gallegos
with a
standing
guillotine. Exact same thing he finished Josh Thorpe with in his last fight, and now it wins him the Hard Rock MMA light heavyweight title. Parker just shot in too low and got caught, and Gallegos once again shows that his submission game is on point.
What a fight. What a first round, and it looked like maybe they were both a little bit gassed in the second round.
Great fight. I think they might be doing a little bit of commentary of their own in the cage. That's one thing I always love to see is, guys, you see the respect of the fighters after the fight. And Julio Gallegos, you hear the chants from his hometown crowd here of Julio.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2 minutes, 58 seconds of the second round. Your winner, tap out due to standing guillotine. Your winner,
Hard Rock MMA has showed no signs of slowing down. We'll always remember the first ever light heavyweight champion was Julio Gallegos.
And I believe, Julio is a guy who's tasted some success at the next level, and he might be a guy who's right back there again. A couple of nice submission wins, win over Josh Thorpe, win over a really tough Tony Parker. He might be right back on that doorstep of a Bellator or UFC.
Does he stay at 205?
I think he's really more of a natural 185-pound fighter, but he can fight really at either weight class.
Once again, a standing ovation from, let's say it, almost the majority of the crowd that came here to see the main event and support their guy, Julio Gallegos, who walks away with the belt in the main event. Gallegos correcting our man Jason Weidel, saying I'm not 5'8", I'm 5'10". Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us at Hard Rock MMA 93. Thank you to our production team, Tim Bryan and Matt McCarthy from Live Sportscaster. Also want to thank the third member of our broadcast team, Jason Weidel. I'm David McKinney. He is Kelly Patrick. Hard Rock MMA 94 will be November 4th in